Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of West 4th and Goal, a podcast for high school sports fans in North Central Ohio. I'm your host, Kurt Conrad, and joining me in the Idea Works podcast studio, as always, is co-host Effie James. Effie, I can only assume you and the family survived last week's winter storm, huh?
We did the best we could with sore arms and backs.
Absolutely. I think I spent 2 hours shoveling my driveway on Sunday, the day after the big storm. Mm-hmm. Of course, the city hadn't come and plowed my road yet, so they plowed my driveway closed, so I had to spend another 2 hours on Tuesday undoing what the city had done. So that's my piece of advice. That's my piece of advice to young homeowners. Don't bother shoveling until the city comes by, or just pay somebody to do it for you.
Absolutely.
Then Sunday afternoon, I watched the AFC and NFC conference games. Did you see any of that?
I watched the Saints game. I didn't watch too much of the New England game. I thought I think I knew what was going to happen in the end. I'm tired of watching that story play out, but the Saints game was an interesting one with an interesting finish.
Isn't that? I mean, that's we could probably spend the entire episode talking about the botched call in that game.
Unbelievable, man.
I mean, that's stuff that changes people's legacies, right? Especially in football. I mean, that's Drew Brees doesn't get to go to a Super Bowl because an official couldn't see a pretty blatant penalty there.
Well, and then some of the guys that will never get an opportunity to play in a Super Bowl. Drew Brees has at least played in one before and has a Super Bowl. Some of those guys will never get another opportunity. That's really a shame. Some
other big news: your premiere of your documentary is coming up here in less than 2 weeks now. How are the nerves?
Good. It is out of my hands now, and right now we're doing some promotions of it, and we really want to get as many people out as possible to hear and watch this story. It's an interesting story. So Saturday, February 2nd at 5 p.m. Mansfield Senior High School Auditorium. Be there.
TY for Tigers, right?
Right.
We got a great show coming up. It is my, before we get into all that, though, it's my great pleasure to welcome back Two Cousins Pizza as the official pizza of West 4th and Goal. Andy McIntyre and his team at Two Cousins, they do a great job. They came back on board this winter, and we couldn't be happier. Two Cousins is a lot more than a pizza shop. They offer a full menu that includes subs, stromboli, foldovers, and salads, along with several different appetizers. If you're hungry, give Two Cousins a call at 419-522-2211 or stop by the shop at 103 North Main Street in downtown Mansfield. It's Two Cousins Pizza, and it's the official pizza of West 4th and Goal. We've had a pretty impressive run of multi-sport athletes here on West 4th and Goal, and this week's guest is no exception. He quarterbacked Lucas to the regional championship game in the fall. This winter, he has the Cubs alone atop the NBC conference. Lucas is 6-0 in the NBC and 9-3 overall. After Tuesday's win at Danville game, he scored 25 points in. In the spring, he's a right-handed pitcher, and he has a fastball that's routinely clocked in the mid-80s, which is, I don't know how much you know about high school baseball, but that's getting it up there pretty good.
Yes, sir.
And for good measure, he hit 4 home runs, I think, last year, and led the team in RBIs. Let's welcome Lucas Jr. Logan Niswander to the studio. And Logan, thanks for making some time and coming down to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was never much of a scorer when I was in high school. I think my career high was 19 points. I don't know any ideas what yours was over at senior high.
I think I had one 30-point game my sophomore year against Elida, and I think that's because they didn't believe I could I was the guy on the team that they had to guard other guys like Mark Lee and some other really good players.
Right.
And I came off the bench and hit a couple threes and got some free throws, and before you knew it, I looked up and I had 30 points. And we lost the game, but that didn't. I don't remember much about that.
Right. The only reason I bring it up is because last March, Logan scored 21 points in one quarter.
How about that?
It was a sectional championship game against Mansfield Christian. Logan, I mean, varsity quarters are 8 minutes long. There's barely enough time to score 20. How is a guy able to score 21 points in 8 minutes?
Whenever I shot the ball, I just happened to go in, and my teammates kept looking for me, I guess.
And the funny thing about that, I was reading the story earlier today. Brian Sauter, who was a teammate of yours at the time, he had 12 in the quarter. So they had a guy with 21 and a guy with 12. I mean, they were the only two guys who scored, but there is almost certainly not enough time to do that.
Wow, that's amazing. That's some great shooting.
Yeah. You coached Jalen Watts when he scored 40 or 41 in a game at Lima Senior in 2009, 2010. But 21 is almost impossible, right?
That is tough. I mean, 20-point quarter in high school is not bad.
Right.
That's not terrible as a team. So, that is definitely impressive and some really good shooting. And like Logan was saying, that takes your teammates looking for you and getting you good looks and setting screens for you and things like that.
Right.
That's impressive.
Right. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about basketball in a little bit, but I know if you like to talk a little bit about football too, especially when a guy's a quarterback. We had several of your teammates in here this past fall. You guys reached the regional championship game. Now that you've had a little bit of time to reflect on that, what was that whole experience like, playing for the game that would have sent you to the Final Four?
It was pretty surreal, thinking that, for the first time we could go to state at our school. And, earlier in the season we knew we'd be good, but we weren't thinking we were going to be in that position to go play for a state semi game. But it was a great experience.
And a lot of people never get that opportunity. I mean, that's something special. And at Lucas, you guys have gone to the playoffs 5 or 6 years in a row. So at least that chance exists, that possibility exists. But there's kids who go their entire careers without ever experiencing something like that.
Never. That is a special thing for them. We talked a lot about how that affects your community and what that does for the entire community, not just the school. And that is a great accomplishment when you can get that far. Even getting to the playoffs is a great accomplishment, but making that type of run is huge.
And like I said, you guys have done it so frequently here. I mean, as a player, is it something you just expect now? Is that you're going to be playing deep into November and basketball season's going to have to wait a little bit? Or?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, Spit tells us, don't ruin the streak. I mean, we're going to push for the playoffs. We're going to play the best teams we can, and it's almost it's expected out of us for us to do that.
I would imagine it's these past couple of years that you've been the quarterback, it's probably a nice security blanket to have the best running back in school history lined up with you behind you. What's it been like playing? Jeb Grover's who I'm talking about. He broke all the school records. He'll graduate this spring. But what's it been like playing with him and just watching him go to work every Friday?
Well, it was whenever we'd run the ball, I was just waiting for him to score wherever we were on the field. But in that River game in the first round, it was just hand the ball to him and let him just go score 80-yard touchdowns on 4 touchdowns on 5 carries.
I was going to say, he had his first 5 carries, he had 4 touchdowns. And being the knucklehead that I am, my first question afterwards was, what happened on that one carry? Because it was his first carry of the game, I think. And he said, I wasn't stretched out. So, but you guys make the regional championship game. You play a Gloucester Trimble, I think it is, the Tomcats, and it's a team that knocked you out last year. It's a great game. They score the game-winning touchdown in the final 17 seconds or something like that. Just run through that. I would imagine that's an awful lot of emotions to process there.
Well, there's 2 minutes left in the game, and they were driving on us, and they were getting 10 yards of carry, and we were just defeated. And when they scored that last touchdown, it was just we'll do our best these last 17 seconds to score, but that was gut-wrenching right there.
Yeah, I would imagine, especially with an offense that you guys have. It's not really built to score in 17 seconds. It's certainly been very effective here these past, 5 or 6 years, or as long as Coach Spittler's been there. But that's got to be a real tough spot. Afterwards, though, they had a kid who was, I think, the Southeastern District Defensive Player of the Year. He got hurt during the game, and after you guys walked through the handshake line, you sought him out on the sideline because he was laying on a bench over there, and you shook his hand. It created quite a lot of people thought that was really neat. Why did you go over there and do that? Is it just say good job? Or?
seeing like one of the best defensive players in the division get hurt in a game there, like I thought he wasn't gonna be able to play the next couple of games, but it turns out he was able to. Right. But I went over there and I was like, thanks. I mean, you played great. You're a great player, but I'm sorry this happened to you.
And what were you surprised that it made as big of a splash, I guess, on social media?
I was just trying to be good sportsmanship, but I didn't think it. When I went home the day after, I was on Twitter and I was like, what the heck?
I don't know if you saw it, but there were some somebody had taped it, and I mean it was it was a neat moment that right. After you go out there and lay it all on the line to take off your helmet and go shake hands with a guy who can't get up and walk through the line, but I mean it just shows a lot of sportsmanship.
It does, and it also shows how the game, it kind of brings some reality to the game, and to see and know that there's still some guys who understand what sportsmanship means, and realizing that it is just a game. You know, even though you do want to win, you want to be successful, it is just a game, and that's a huge sign of great sportsmanship when you go over and shake a guy's hand who couldn't finish the game like everybody else did.
Coach Spittler has done a great job down there of kind of establishing you guys' identity offensively. Like we said, you're going to lose the best running back in school history. Is he going to reinvent the wheel to maybe cater to your talents? I mean, I saw I covered all the state championships games, and I saw Trimble because they reached the state championship game. They had won the state semifinal and played in the state final against Macomb, and certainly no disrespect to their quarterback, but it seemed to me like your arm was very strong among Division VII quarterbacks. I mean, do you feel like you're going to get the opportunity to throw it around a little bit more next year, maybe? Or
I hope so, but we'll probably still run the ball 80% of the time.
Right? Is there an heir apparent for Jeb Grover? Or someone waiting in the wings?
Tommy Zerzo, I guess. He's in my grade. He's been backseat to Jeb all 3 years through high school, but I think this will be his breakout year because he'll be number one.
Right. Now your cousins, and we had Clay in during the fall. Clay Caudell, who's a tight end for Mansfield Senior, has gotten a lot of attention on the recruiting scene. Mm-hmm. I think he just got an offer from LSU, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, do you guys? He said he got it. He tried to talk to you as much as he could during the season, but it's kind of a little more difficult when you're both preparing. Do you guys get a chance to talk much? I mean, what are those conversations like?
I really only get to talk to him at like family meetings, like Christmas, Thanksgiving, and we just mess around and we don't really talk about nothing serious. Just hang out, I guess.
Right on. No backyard competitions.
Oh no.
Now he said he was going to come back down here once he committed. Do you have any insider information where he might be going or anything like that?
He told me where he wanted to go, but I don't want to say anything about it.
That's fair enough. We'll leave that for him. Now, before we get to basketball, I was poking around doing some research, and I saw a YouTube video of you from a baseball showcase, I think this summer, and you were consistently hitting 85 on the gun, 84, 85 on the gun. I think you top out in the high 80s. Is baseball your future, do you think? I mean, are you getting a lot of interest there?
I mean, I guess I don't really want to like talk about who's looking at me or anything, but I mean, that's probably where I'll end up like moving on to the next level, playing baseball. Right.
And you're a 3-sport guy. Do you have a favorite or how?
No, it's baseball by far.
Is it baseball by far? It's a little unusual to have a guy who's really good, like All-Ohio caliber in 3 sports. Sure. I mean, it's kind of a special thing.
No, you don't see that much anymore, and especially, I was looking at Kyler Murray from Oklahoma, and I was watching an interview that he'd done and how much he loves baseball, and people assume that because you're good at one sport that you love it, and a lot of times, it's fun, but your love could be something totally different. And I'm telling you right now, I wish I had a coach when I was in school that really wanted me to play baseball. And I said, no way, man, I don't, I was a quarterback in high school, and he thought I could be a decent pitcher. And I said, nah, I'm okay with that, man. I wish I'd listened to that guy. But it was, you feel like you love sports and you love all sports, but there's always one that you'd rather play more than the others.
Right. Now let's talk a little bit of basketball, I guess. We got you down here during basketball season. You guys, last year, you advanced to the district for the first time in a really long time. I think you won more games than you had since 99, 2000 season, something like that. What were your expectations coming into this season?
Coming into this season, St. Pete's lost 2 All-Ohioans in the 5-man sport.
Right.
We're starting, and we knew that if we just played our best, we could win our conference. And Crawford losing McCreary, their point guard, and their big man, I can't remember his name.
Right.
They opened the door up for us to maybe be district champions, and that's like mostly our goal right now.
Right.
Is just getting that point.
Now you guys rely obviously on a lot of football guys. A lot of small schools do rely on a lot of football guys. But how much time did Coach Eisman give you guys off before he expected you in the gym there? You guys lost, but it was late November by the time the football season ended, I think.
Yeah, we got no days off.
Not a single day. That's we might have to talk to Coach Eisman and see why that is. Now, you guys started the season with 4 straight wins, and then I think over your next 4 games you were like 1-3 or something like that. I mean, were you? I think you were at 5 and like just a couple games over 500 at the start of after the 2018 portion of the schedule. I mean, was that where you expected to be, or were you expecting bigger things by then?
No, losing that game to South Central. I mean, that's a really good team. That game could have went either way, but losing the other 2 games, it was like it sucks, but it's basketball. It's not like football where one win can stop your season or cut it short. And we just kept playing through it, and we're on a nice little win streak now.
Right. And after it's everyone gets to go to the tournament in basketball.
Right.
I guess that's the good news. Even if you're struggling. I mean, you coach some teams that probably went through some rocky times. I mean,
Sure.
is that something you'd really gotta tell the kid or stress to the kids that regardless of what happens, we're going to get a shot in the tournament?
Yeah, and that's where your non-league scheduling comes into play, and you really want to play some good teams and test yourself and test your kids, and because it is a whole nother season. Now the trick is trying to get your team to be playing its best coming down the stretch, and some mid-season losses and some tough games really build character of a team. And so like Logan's talking about, the game against South Central, that's a tough game. Mm-hmm. And even those are the types of games during this part of the season, win them or lose them, doesn't mean so much. It's just about how did you play, and did you learn something from it that you can take moving forward. So going into the tournament, that's the great thing about high school basketball. Everybody gets another shot, and that's where a lot of teams really find their stride, really, when the tournament starts.
Yeah, we my junior year of high school, I was on a very pedestrian 10-10 team during the regular season back when you only played 20 games in the dark ages now, I guess. But but for whatever the reason, the light went on and we made it to the regional tournament. We ended up losing to St. Peter's actually in the regional.
Wow.
That team had Will Meadows at the time, but nonetheless, I mean, not a lot of people expected a 10-10 team from Hillsdale to be playing in the Canton Fieldhouse in a trip to the regional finals. So
Absolutely.
Now you guys, like you said, since 2019 arrived, you guys are 4-0. That includes a win over St. Peter's. It's the first time you guys had beaten St. Peter's since, I think, 2011. What's that do for you guys as a team? I mean, I would imagine that's got to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's just a big confidence booster. They've been the big dogs in the area for 4 years or so, and beating them kind of like felt like that we established our spot as one of the top teams in the area, and it was a great win.
Yeah, and that St. Peter's team has kind of run roughshod over a lot of the D4 schools here recently, and it just, I mean, at some point, especially at the small school levels, that cycles through, and it's they're just not going to have that level of talent. I guess it probably even happens at the senior high level. I know your first year was one of those years.
Yeah, year in and year out, it's tough to get consistent, really, really good teams. And one thing I enjoy watching about a lot of the smaller school teams, they build programs, and obviously Coach Eisman's done a great job at Lucas. Those guys are going to be competitive no matter. I saw the game a couple years ago at Lucas, and even though St. Peter's was more talented of a team, the Lucas team played well. It was a contest for the first 3 quarters, but that's because the system is in place, and you're going to have some ups and downs talent-wise, but I think Coach Eisman at Lucas has really done a great job of keeping his program to where they're always going to be competitive. And if you get a couple kids that really are committed to playing well, and the league is down a little bit, you'll be right where they are now, which is in a great spot to win the league.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you guys are 6-0 in the conference. You have 4 conference games remaining, all 4 of them at your place. Mm-hmm. I would imagine it's all there, right there in front of you for the taking. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better setup, I guess, here.
Yeah.
Now you guys, you opened the season against Mansfield Christian, and they were a very different team. They didn't have one of their key pieces at the time, but you won that game by, I think, 50 points. You played them a second time at your place there, like last week, and it was an 8-10 point game. My point is, are you expecting everyone's best shot here in the second round?
Yeah, I mean, everyone in our conference now is like trying to beat us to where like they have a chance to win the conference, but like no team is just going to try to walk right, like move on, like think about the next game, and it's, I don't know, it forces us to play our best.
You know a thing or two about having coaching teams that have targets on their back. I mean,
sure.
It's especially when you have to play a team twice, in conference, and then heaven forbid you run into them a third time in the tournament. I mean, that's asking a lot of any high school team.
Well, there used to be a time, Kurt, where you weren't sure where every team could see every game. This is the age of every game that you play is now visible by everyone. And even when I coached it, you still had to like drive a certain way to get the film, to watch the film. Now every game is, everybody can see. So the teams are watching you play. They're breaking you down for every single game. They have more than just the game that you played against them the first time. So it is very tough when you're head and shoulders above the other teams, because now you're going to get not only their best shot, but now their coaches are going to be trying to take away your strengths, and they're going to do some things different to you. So it's a unique place for a lot of teams to be in. Like I said, some teams struggle with that position, but I tell you, it looks like Coach Eisman is really prepared his team well, and they're ready for the stretch.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you mentioned that. I remember covering your tournament game. I think it was the year that it was actually the 2009-2010 season. Mm-hmm. You'd beaten Lima Senior at their place. That was the game that Jalen Watts scored 40 points, and then they beat you in the district final, I believe.
Right.
And I remember talking to their coach after that game, and I said, what did you do differently on Watts this year? And he said, well, we had access to 10 of their games on a local TV station. Sure. They were able to access that, and now that's if you only have 10, you're kind of behind the ball. I mean, everything is available to you now.
Absolutely, that's the norm now, and coaches that take advantage of that, they are so far ahead. Preparation now is on a different level, and kids now can go on, instead of, we used to have our kids take DVDs home and hope that they watch them. Well, now you can pull them up on the internet, pull games up, and watch the guy who you're going to be guarding or watch the team that you're going to be playing. That's a tremendous advantage for high school age kids.
Yeah, when I was playing basketball, the game plan was a little different. They just wrote a number on the board and said, you cover that guy, and that's about all you knew about your guy. Right. Do you guys spend a lot of time in film study and stuff like that? I mean, I would imagine you know a lot more about your opponents than F or I ever did when we were playing high school basketball.
Yeah, I get about every game that they play, just like Effie was talking about. Mm-hmm. But we did the schools that like send us their films, we obviously have to send ours back,
right.
Which is kind of a bad thing, but a good thing in a way. But I mean, we'd have probably every game St. Peter's played, right. Every game Clear Fork's played. That's a big game coming up, and it is a great advantage for us.
Yeah. I mean, last year you guys, that was a St. Peter's team that was historic by all accounts. I mean, they won 27 in a row or something crazy like that. You guys gave them all they wanted in the district semifinal. That was a 10-point game at 81-71, and you guys did a real nice job. I would imagine you've seen them so much. There not a whole lot of secrets at that point between the two teams.
Yeah, it was just try and stop Jakubik and Elijah and let the other three beat us.
Right. Now you guys host Crestline on Friday before hitting the road Saturday for what I think is going to be a really interesting game. But before we talk about that game, let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. How's that for a cliffhanger? You're listening to West 4th and Goal. We'll be right back with more from Lucas's Logan Niswander. Welcome back to West 4th and Goal. I'm Kurt Conrad, and I'm here with co-host Effie James, and Lucas is Logan Niswander. And Logan, before we talk about Saturday's big showdown, I would like to take a moment to talk about becoming a member at Richland Source. Richland Source exists to tell the whole story of the communities we serve and to uncover, through our solutions journalism projects, common sense approaches to issues that are preventing our community from moving forward. We believe that a newsroom which listens to its audience can create real value and change through journalism. Your membership says you believe that supporting independent local news means a better community for all of us. Membership start at just $4.99 a month and includes some great benefits. That's less than most people spend on coffee in a week. How about this? If you become a member, a Richland Source team member will deliver coffee to you at your workplace to celebrate. To become a member and support great local journalism, visit richlandsource.com and click on the big purple button at the top of the page, or visit sourcemembers.com. Now that that's taken care of, Logan, let's talk about Saturday's game. You guys are going down to the Valley to take on the Clear Fork Colts. They beat you at your place last year, 2 years ago. You went down there and beat them. Is this kind of one you had circled on the calendar all season long, or how's that work?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest games of the year. This and the St. Pete's game earlier in the year. But they're a really good team, and they got a really good point guard. I can't remember his name, but no,
right. It's Brennan South, I'm sure, is who you're talking about. He's a guy who scores a bunch of points for him. Half the teams are combined 21-5. Wow. I mean, as far as non-conference game goes, that's I mean, this is as good as it gets at this time of year.
Love it. You know, I love this part of the year because, you know, the conference title races start to heat up. This Lucas and Clear Fork game is one that I know I've been looking forward to because the teams have both been doing so well, and you know, I love to see the small community teams get together, and you know, and they're small communities, but these teams are talented.
Right.
You know, sometimes people lump in small school with not talented, but these are some talented teams, and you know, they're playing some good basketball at both of these schools. Right,
and I mean, to only have 5 losses between 2 teams at this time of the year, I mean, that's kind of special. It doesn't happen all the time. I mean, it's something that both communities can really get behind here.
Sure, and you know, right now we're just close enough. You know, the tournament draw usually is probably about 2.5 weeks away or so. So you start to get the feel for where you're going to be in the tournament, and your wins and losses now are going to determine where you're seated and things like that. So games start to get a little bit, you know, a lot more important, and the competition revs up, and the games are a lot more fun to watch.
Now, Logan, is that something that just sports writers and sports fans look at, or those tournament draws, or is that something you guys kind of pay attention to, and you know when it is, and you know what's at stake, I guess?
I mean, I don't really know when it is, but I know that, you know, we want the easiest path to get to the district finals, and you got to have a good regular season to set yourself up for that.
Yeah, and that's why the regular season, I guess, and as a coach, that presents all sorts of, you know, opportunities, I guess, for you to stress to your kids. I mean, it's as much as it's hard to get motivated for games in early January, those games are all important.
Well, they are, and the great thing is, you know, come down the stretch, the end of January, going into February, you talk to your kids a lot about the great thing is you want to press them about being sharp early in the season, but whether you played great early or terrible early, you can use that to your advantage as a coach. You know, you can say, well, nobody cares what you've done the first 7 or 8 games. It's now, how are you playing now? And if you haven't played well early in the season, then, you know, at this point, it doesn't matter. How are you playing now? And what have you learned from some of your losses and poorly played games?
Right. And Logan, I mean, as important as all your attention is on what's in front of you. I mean, is there ever a time when you're scoreboard watching saying, well, I wonder what St. Pete's is doing tonight, or anything like that? I mean, is it hard not to keep all your focus on the task at hand?
Yeah, I mean, I always want to see how St. Pete's players are doing. I like to see what Jonah's doing.
Right.
And I like to see what he's scoring. I like to see what South Central's doing. I mean, I was on Huddle yesterday, and I was looking, and I saw David Lamro just dunked on some kid, and I was like, that's pretty cool. But, I mean, it's fun to keep up with what they're doing.
Right, and you, I remember talking to you after you guys beat St. Pete's. I think you've played with Jonah for quite a while here, haven't you? I mean, what's that like? You guys go at it pretty good, do you?
Yeah, I mean, we've been playing against each other since middle school, and we've always been post players since we've been the biggest people. And, you know, he knows. I'm guessing he knows what all the moves I do. I know what he does, and it's just good competition.
Right. It's probably, I would imagine, it's hard to. There's no secrets. I mean, with teams that have been playing against each other for so long.
Yeah, when you played, and nowadays these kids play together from an AAU league starting in 3rd, 4th grade, and they know everything there is to know about each other, and that's one of the unique things about how basketball has evolved with off-season play and playing in so many different leagues as young guys. They get to know so many more people. When I was young, I didn't know anyone that wasn't playing for my school.
Right.
And we didn't. AAU was very in its very beginning stages back then, so we didn't know the other guys until we played them. And now these guys know each other, and it makes for great competition and great friendly rivalry, really.
Right. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, I knew the guys who played at my school in front of me and behind me because those are the guys we played at the park with. You know, there was no, there weren't any AAU. I mean, I think my senior year they started a summer league, and you got to meet some of the other guys from around the area. But that was the extent of it. I mean, I didn't know anybody else playing for any other teams in the area.
Right.
Looking around the rest of the NBC, St. Peter's plays a game on Saturday. They host Loudonville, and Loudonville is kind of a middle of the road team. I mean, Logan, you've seen both of them. What's Loudonville do well, and what's St. Peter's do well?
St. Peter's is just super fundamental, and they're used to success, and they have like the mindset of we're going to win. But Loudonville, they play hard, and they can really shoot threes really well, and then that if you're shooting threes, and it's hard, you're hard to beat if you're making a lot of threes. Right.
Also in the NBC, I think Mansfield Christian is hosting Kidron Central Christian. I saw Mansfield Christian at the beginning of the year, and they were struggling. And then I saw them play St. Peter's, and it was a less than a 10-point game. And then they gave you all you guys wanted. I mean, have you seen improvement from that team from the first time you played them to the second time?
Yeah. Earlier in the year, it looked like they didn't know where they stood, But since Mount came back and they really got like a true point guard to handle the ball, it's definitely helped him. He's a good leader out there. And Kidron, they have the best zone I've ever seen. I don't know how they do their zone so well.
Right. In the Ohio Cardinal Conference, I saw you last Friday night, and Roger Merrill put on a show for us over at Madison. Mansfield Senior beat Madison, I think 89-70, and Roger Merrill, who's a guy who found out he was starting probably 10 minutes before he got to Madison Middle School, scored 31 points, and he couldn't miss. That was quite a show he put on over there. I mean, you obviously have seen some great individual single game performances, but that has to rank right up there with him.
Well, it was great to see Roger get play well and get an opportunity, and like I said, they're in one of those unique positions where there's a number of kids on that bench that have the capability of doing the same thing. Roger Merrill's a kid who the week before started the JV game and played the majority of the JV game. So to get his opportunity, and he stepped up, and right now he's a guy that I'm sure Coach Sykes and the staff they're looking for, some extra offensive punch, and he'll be getting a lot more minutes and a lot more opportunities because of it.
Yeah. Senior high, for the first time since I can remember, and I've been covering them for the better part of 20 years, they played Marion Pleasant this weekend.
Yeah.
How did that come about? You got a little insider knowledge over there?
Well, I think what happens when they added the 2 games, I think the idea was to give the team some flexibility, because you don't have to play 22 games.
Right.
You don't have to. And I think that Marquise, and I know some of the other guys, they wanted to expand the types of teams that they play, because when you get in the tournament, you're going to see all types of teams that play all different styles. And I think for Marquise, I think this is an opportunity. You played Madison, and they played Dublin, Kaufman. They played teams up and down the range of how they can play you. And I think Marion is going to be another one of those games where you just see another style of play. And for Mansfield, it's about forcing your will on the team that you're playing.
Right.
And his team, and they're going to get an opportunity to do that, because if they don't, they're gonna struggle no matter who they play.
Right. Also in the OCC, Ashland is at Mount Vernon, and that's always such a tough place to go down and play, is Mount Vernon. I mean, and Ashland has actually been playing really well this season. They're 5-2 in conference, and Mount Vernon is coming off they took one on the chin the other night at Lexington. I mean, if Ashland wants to stay in the hunt, this is a real big game for them.
Absolutely. Just like we've been talking about for all the schools, this time of year, it's time to, for lack of a better term, put up or shut up. And, either you're going to be okay with being a middle-of-the-road team, or you're going to make a push for your league title, or make a push to string together some wins. So, Ashland's in a good spot with 2 losses in the conference. They could really make some headway here with a win, but also Mount Vernon is a team that we've seen can play well and beat the big boys in the league. So it ought to be an interesting contest.
And Logan, like you guys, Clear Fork has a game on Friday they have to concern themselves with before they can focus on you guys. And I mean, do you guys spend a lot of time? I would imagine most of your time and energy this week has been spent preparing for Crestline. I mean, is it get to Saturday morning and shoot around and then worry about Clear Fork? How's that work? Because Clear Fork hosts River Valley, I think, or is it it's at River Valley on Friday night before they welcome you guys to the down to the Colt Corral.
Well, I mean, we're thinking about Crestline. They got Ty Clark and Kane Ronk and Anatra, and they got a pretty decent team. But I mean, we know if we go out and play our game, we should be able to beat them. So we're thinking about we need to prepare like we would for Clear Fork,
right,
like we would for every other team, and we just need to just go out every day and get better.
On double weekends, F, how'd you guys approach that? I mean,
it's tough.
I would imagine
it's tough, and I think like Logan is saying, it does depend on the competition, and that's no knock to any team. It really does depend on the competition, and if we have a team like on a Friday, for instance, that we should be able to be successful against, our thing was like we got to prepare for the Saturday team and just play well enough in our game plan for Saturday to win on Friday.
Right.
And then there's other games where you've got some quality opponents, and we've done things like split the week in half. Monday, Tuesday was for our Saturday opponent, and Wednesday, Thursday was for our Friday opponent. Then we come in for walkthrough and refresh for the Saturday game. So preparation, is big. But it does matter who you're playing, and some games you just got to go out and win, without spending so much time in preparation. Sometimes you just got to go out and play and win.
Right. Also in the MOAC, Ontario plays at Buckeye Valley on Friday, and then they got a real big game on Saturday. They're at Norwalk, and I mean that Norwalk team is playing real well. They probably have the best Division II player in the district. He might be the best player regardless of division in that district, and that's Brandon Haraway. That's a load to prepare for, I guess. I mean, I can't wait till that D2 tournament starts.
The Haraway kid my first time seeing him was last season during the tournament, and I was just blown away with his ability. And I've watched both of his, I think, older brothers. Mm-hmm. The Haraways there, and I was impressed with them. But this kid is on a whole, he's on a different level when it comes to just his overall skill level and his knowledge of the game and his athleticism. So you're right, that D2 district is going to be fun to watch.
I think Ashland University's gotten a steal twice now because they have his older brother Ben Haraway, who led Norwalk to a state championship a few years ago, and Ben, I think, was the GLIAC Freshman of the Year during his freshman year when he was at Malone, and then he transferred to AU. And then, I mean, he's a steal. He seemed to me, I mean, I don't know exactly what a D1 point guard looks like, but it seems to me like he certainly fits that description, and so is his younger brother.
Yeah, well, he has it cerebrally in so much of basketball, and I watched an Ashland game, a couple of them this year, and he is invaluable as a point guard at that level. And the only thing that the difference between D1 and D2 point guards sometimes is just probably the height. Yeah. And, anymore now they got 6'6", 6'7" guys, and that's the difference. If Haraway is 3 more inches taller, right, he's playing on television on Saturday. Right. So sometimes that's just the biggest difference. But cerebrally, he has got it.
Right. And then also in the MOAC, Shelby is hosting Marion Pleasant. We had Uriah Schwemley in here last week, who plays for Shelby and did a tremendous job. I mean, that's a Shelby team that can't seem to buy a break right now. I think they've lost 3 in a row, and I mean they've all been close games. I mean, you've probably been in that situation before. It's when you're snake bitten, it's hard to shake that off, shake free of that.
It is. And one of the things that we've always done and seems to work is, when you're struggling as a team, we throw out all the fancy philosophy, and sometimes as a coach you get caught up in all these great new gadget plays and all this cool new drills that you do, and you strip everything down and you just go back to basics. And we had to do that a number of times. If we drop a couple games, especially close games where it was a check out here or a missed screen or lack of execution here, we would strip everything down and go really fundamental practices for the entire week. And you'd be amazed at how that kind of brings you back into really playing good basketball.
Right. How did you guys, Logan, how did you guys approach it? I mean, you guys had started so well. Then you lost 3 out of 4, and I would imagine none of you thought that you were going to lose 3 out of 4 at any point. I mean, what did Coach Eisman do in workouts to kind of get you back to where you needed to be?
We were very tense at practice. We were afraid to mess up, and when we would scrimmage, he'd let us mess around a little bit, but not to where we got out of control, and we just went back to playing just basketball and having fun, and it helped us in the long run.
If I would imagine if you're coaching kids who are afraid to make a mistake, that's not a place you want to be.
It's a balancing act, man, because you do want them to be aware on the floor and play smart and be make good decisions, but at the same time you got to let them play basketball. They got to be able to play, and teams that are able to find that balance, you have to practice that way. And sometimes we would have sessions where there was no out of bounds, there was no fouls, it was nothing. It was just you play basketball, get the ball, score, stop the other team from scoring, get up and down the floor, run a play if you want, don't run a play. It didn't matter.
Right.
Teaching the kids how to play basketball and letting them play, because there's parts of the game where you can't run a play. You guys got to play basketball, and they got to know how to do that in the course of a game.
Right. Well, the Cubs seem to have gotten it figured out after this weekend. Just a handful more games before the postseason rolls around, and it looks like that D4 tournament's going to be pretty exciting. I mean, as much as I'm looking forward to the D2s over at Madison, the D4 tournament has been really exciting the last few years. I mean, it's been St. Peter's who's won it, but it's certain no one's rolled over for them in that D4, and I would imagine with them being not the team that they have been in the past. I mean, that you guys got to feel like that tournament is wide open, and you are one of the teams that can win that thing.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Well, I think that's gonna do it for us today. We certainly appreciate Logan coming down, and for Coach James, I'm Kurt Conrad, and this is West 4th and Goal. Thanks for listening. West 4th and Goal is a part of the Richland Source Podcast Network and is produced and edited by Noah Jones. I'm your host, Kurt Conrad, and on behalf of co-host Effie James, thanks for listening.